Hi, the next video is going to show you about Boolean operators in JavaScript. So there are some differences between the symbols used for Boolean operators in JavaScript compared to Python, and it's easy enough to test them using the console editor in Google Chrome, which is what I have here. So I've opened up a new tab in Google Chrome, and if you right-click on it and choose Inspect, and then go to the console, and this opens an area where you can actually test some JavaScript. So for example, if I made two variables here, let a equals 7 and let b equals 5, we can then test some Boolean operators against these values. So for example, when you do a Boolean, it comes back as either true or false. So for example, if I said a is greater than b, that will evaluate as true. If I said a is less than b, that would come back as false. So with the Boolean operators, you can use the and the or the not operators. So for example, if I said, put brackets here, A is greater than B, which is at the moment true, and the symbol for and in JavaScript is two and symbols like that. And if I said in brackets, B is greater than A, because both sides of the argument have to be true, then this comes back as false because this side is true, but this side is false. Therefore, the overall is false. So if I said instead that um, A, same thing again. So we'll say A is greater than B, which is true. Now we can say or, which is the double pipe symbol for in JavaScript for the or symbol, or B is greater than A, which we know is false. This time it evaluates as true because one of them is true. So in other words, this side is true. So it doesn't matter. As long as one is true, it comes back as true with the or statement. So for the not operator, what we can then use instead is we can say that A is not equal to, so for a not equal to is we need to put the exclamation mark and the equals to here, and then B is true because A being 7 and B being 5, A is not equal to 7 is not equal to 5, so that is true. If I said that A, oops, again, A is equal to B, that would be false. So this is how we use the different operators. So we got the and, the or operator, and the not operator. So how does that work in a JavaScript program itself? So if we jump back to Replit, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a check here in our driving license test to see if somebody's already has their provisional test. Now, if they choose yes for their provisional, then we're going to let them through. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a question to ask them, do they have a provisional license, yes or no? So what we're going to do is down here, after they've inputted their name and their age, we're going to use a little drop-down select option. So we're going to give it a label first, and we can say, do you have a provisional license? Question mark. And then to create the options for them, we're going to use the select box here, which will give us a little drop down, and we need to then enter some options for them to choose. So we're going to choose here the first option, is they can answer yes. And then the second option, actually the first option will say, please select. And then the second option is yes. And then the third option can be no. So we'll just, again, run that just to make sure it looks okay. So I'm just hit run. And you see, do you have provisional license? And then there's a little drop down here for them to pick. So that's fine. Now, what we need to do is choose, if they choose 17, for example, here, and they do have a license, yes, then we want them to be, say, eligible as yes. Otherwise, if they choose 17 and they choose no here, then eligible should come back as no. Okay, so we're going to add some options here, and we need to connect it up to the JavaScript as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll just give the ID to the select statement, or to the select element. So we'll say select ID equals, I'm just going to call that one prov. So in my JavaScript up here now, I need to then create in the function for the check function here, I need to then look for this value. So I'm going to add in a new variable here. So I'm going to say let, and we'll call this one prov equals document dot get element by ID, and then we're going to look for the prov, and we need to get the value of it. So in other words, have they selected yes, no, or something else? And because at the moment we've don't have actual values for these options, we just said yes or no. We actually have to give some values here so that we can test against them. So the first thing we can therefore do is we can give, if they choose, the please select is a null value, so we're just going to leave that one off. But if they choose yes, we need to say option, and then we're going to give it a value. So we'll say value equals 1. And if they choose no, we can say value equals 0. And that is no. So this time now, that means that the this variable here, the prov variable, will now carry the values from the selected option here now. So the next step then is to change our if statement, because if the age is greater than or equal to 17 and they do have a provisional license, then we need to answer yes, they can get through to the next step. So what we need to do is we're going to evaluate this with the AND Boolean operator. So we're going to say and then I need to say prov is equal to, and because at the moment we haven't passed the variable prov as an integer, we can actually just evaluate it as a string. So we're just going to evaluate it as either 1 or 0 here. So I'm just going to prov equals, if it's equal to 1 as a string, then we're going to say yes. Otherwise, if they're 16, it'll say moped only. Otherwise, in other words, if this is not checked, then it should say no. So we should try that to see if this works now. So I'm just run this. So again, put the name in, put the age. So in other words, if I put in 17 here now and then check if eligible, it comes back as no. And previously it said yes. And the reason it comes back no is because the uh, and Boolean here is looking also for this side to be true. So we need to have both of these to be true. So if I choose yes here now and check if eligible, then it comes back as yes. And likewise, if I put in any other value, so if I put in 16, it comes back a moped only. It doesn't matter if this is yes or no. And if I choose something like 15, says no. If I check something bigger like 21, that comes back as yes. If it's 21 and no, check if eligible, it says no, because I do need my provisional license first. So you can see just by adding the and statement here, and we're using a Boolean on the to evaluate both these sides as true, we can then make a much more powerful form. Okay, thanks for watching.